All right, Shalom, Shalom, Israel. This is Brother Azariah from WFI, Jersey, Philly, coming back with another video, giving all honor and glory to the Most High Yahweh, which the world calls God, and Yahweh Shai, which the world calls Jesus Christ. Shalom, Shalom. All right, Lord willing, you brothers and sisters, you enduring, you continue to wax mighty in your faith, and you're waxing mightier and mightier in your wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And you're cleaving unto wisdom and putting down the folly and the madness in these last days, which is your sins and the old man that you once used to be. All right. So, Lord willing, y'all doing that, and you're making your calling and election sure in these last days. Now, I had a brother, he asked me a very good question. All right. Now, the brother asked me, he said, how do we conduct ourselves while being in this truth? Paraphrasing what he said, how do we conduct ourselves while being in this truth so that we don't make the truth look bad? That's a beautiful question. Now, that's a question me, myself, I have to ask myself every day. That's a question you, whoever you are, you have to ask yourself this question every day. When I wake up in the morning, I go out into amongst the whole entire world, the great and big and vast world. How do I conduct myself so I don't make the Lord and the Heavenly Father look bad? All right. How do I walk in this truth without making the Most High look bad? Because you got to understand, us being the Lord's people, we're claiming our nationality. We're regaining our nationality back. All right. We have to know how to operate. All right. Like our forefathers. Our forefathers operate in a certain manner. Likewise, we should be doing the same thing. You shouldn't be going out there and just doing whatever. All right. That's not what you should do. Now, I'm going to open up with the book of Proverbs, the 14th chapter. This is the answer to that brother's question right here. All right. I could say this, I could say that, but I'm gonna give the straight up plain upon tables answer. This is the book of Proverbs 14 and verse 34. The Lord said, righteousness exalteth a nation. So righteousness is what's going to make a nation look good. It's going to bring you on high. All right. Or it's going to put you on high. All right. Everybody's going to kind of be breaking their necks, looking up at you, shining so bright and trying to be like you. All right. They're trying to climb up to your stature. He said righteousness is going to do that for a nation. But sin is a reproach to any people. So when you sin, now it makes you look bad. So the Lord, he just told you how to make the nation look good and how to make the nation look bad. If you're sinning and you making the nation look bad, all right, you kind of just doing your own thing. You got fringes on, you still smoking weed. All right, you make the truth look bad. All right, when I first came into the truth, I had fringes on and I was still smoking weed. Now, do you think that the people that I was smoking weed with, and I was also at the same time trying to convince them to come in the truth, do you think that they're taking the truth seriously? All right. I'm kind of saying, don't do this, don't do that. Meanwhile, I got a damn blunt in my hand. All right. And we damn playing 2K. All right. Do you think that's making the truth look good or is making it look bad? I was going the hell off, so I was making it look bad. Then those brothers, it kind of might have gotten turned off by the truth. Because they're like, well, he's still doing A, B, and C, and he's claiming this, that, and that. All right, well, that's just another phase. He's going to get over that soon. That's how people will look at the truth if you're sinning in abundance in their face, all right, amongst them. So the Lord told you, he said, righteousness exalteth a nation. So when you're operating in righteousness, all right, we're going to get to what that is in a few. When you're operating in righteousness, now you're going to make the nation look good. All right. For example, when I did stop smoking weed, I had certain brothers hit me up like, you don't do this no more and da-da-da, A, B, and C. Now, they looked at it as if I moved on to something better. All right. That's what the brother had said. One of my main brothers in the world. He said, he moved on to something better. Why? Because he's seen that I got my fringes on. I'm no longer smoking weed. I'm not out there in the streets no more talking about I'm on the block. Where the hoes at? I'm not doing that no more. All right. Now I'm reading my Bible. Now I'm teaching the nation their nationality. Now I'm telling them to stop putting down the weed. I mean, Slocky, not stop. Now I'm telling them to stop smoking weed. Stop being an adulterer. All right. Stop being on the damn block, man. All right. Stop being a nigga and a nigga woman. All right. And a harlot in these streets. I'm telling them not to do those things now. Now they look at me, although I'm nothing, I'm dust and ashes. They look at me and say, well, the brother moved on to something better. Why? Because now I'm operating in righteousness. Now you got to ask yourself, what is righteousness? All right? Because in the Christianity church, they say, well, if you just save the dog or you save the cat from, you kind of help the cat get out the tree, that's righteousness. All right, you help the old Edomite lady walk across the street. She had her cane. She clearly can't see. She walking across the street like this. And you kind of stopped what you're doing. You kind of got off the bus that you was on. All right. And then you went and helped this woman cross the street. They say, well, that's righteousness. All right. That's not in the Bible. The Lord told you what righteousness is. All right. Let's go to Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter. All right. This is Deuteronomy 6, and I'm going to start at 23. All right, Deuteronomy 6 and 23. It says, and he brought us out from thence, that he might bring us in, to give us the land which he sware unto our fathers. And the Lord commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear the Lord our God, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive, as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness, if we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord our God, as he hath commanded us. So righteousness is the keeping of the law. So when the Lord said, righteousness exalteth a nation, he's telling you the keeping of the commandments, that's what's going to exalt the nation. Now, there's 613 commandments. All right, time will fail me if I was to try to go through every single commandment that we should be trying to keep to make ourselves look good. But what I am going to do is I'm going to give a general statement or a common understanding. All right, I should, by the end of this video, I should make it plain upon tables. All right, the Lord, he already made it plain. All right, righteousness, the keeping of the law, is going to exalt the nation. That's how you're going to make the nation look good. That's how you conduct yourself in this walk, brother. All right, or sister that may have that question. All right, you know, every day when you wake up, you should be meditating on the law of the Lord. Let me get a precept real quick in the book of Sirach, the 39th chapter. All right, this is Sirach 39, and we're going to read verse 1. The law should constantly and always be running through your mind. This is the book of Sirach 39 and verse 1. But he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High. So you have to give your mind over to the law of the Lord, and is occupied in the meditation thereof. So you should be occupied in the meditation thereof. For example, when I go out on the last Shabbat, I was out there. We was out there doing the work with the Akim. Now, I was looking around watching camp, and I seen a bird. I seen 3 birds. It was 3. It was 3 birds eating a pretzel. All right. Now, the 3 birds was constantly pecking away at the pretzel. Now, instantly, I thought of precepts. I'm like, well, these are 3 birds. Then I thought of precepts that show you that the number 3 is completion. Then I'm thinking of Matthew 6 and 25 on down, where he says how he feeds the birds and how much more you, paraphrasing. Basically, he was going into, if I'm feeding the birds and they're kind of just out there in the wilderness on their own, kind of winging it, you being man and you're above the birds, I'm going to feed you as well. I was thinking about those precepts. So I said that to say, when you walk out the house, you damn, anything you see around you, all right, you should always be meditating on the precepts. Precepts should come in your mind. You may not know exactly where the precept is verbatim. You kind of could quote where it's at. But throughout your throughout your walk, you obviously have read certain books and things like that and came across certain precepts. Whether a brother brought it out during a video or you read it on your own. Those precepts should pop up in your mind. So when you're dealing with Jake in the world, you're dealing with your mom, you're dealing with your cousin, or whatever the case may be, or whoever the hell it is, you at work, you're at the workplace. You should be thinking about precepts all the time. All right, let me read this again. This is Sirach 39 and 1. But he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High, and is occupied in the meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient, and be occupied in prophecies. So plain upon tables, you should be meditating on the law. I'm going to get another one real quick. This is the book of Psalms 119 and verse 15, I believe it is. All right. This is Psalms 119 and verse 15. It says, I will meditate in thy precepts. So he's saying, David's telling you, hey, I'm going to meditate on the precepts of the Lord. That's how I'm going to make it throughout my day. Imagine we didn't have the Bible. You know how hard life would be. Or even say we do have the Bible. You know how hard it would be to live or walk in this truth without meditating on the precepts. You'll constantly be vexed. But through the meditation of the precepts, you find peace, rest, shelter, all right, a home, a couch if you have ears to hear, all right? You know the couch, you kind of sit on your comforter, you relax, kind of taking off your shoes, you kind of about to take it down. Through the precepts, and you can do that spiritually if you have understanding, all right? So again, he said, I will meditate in thy precepts, all right, and have respect unto thy ways. So playing upon tables, and you're going to have respect unto the ways of the Lord, which is his commandments. That's how you're going to walk in this truth, so that you don't make the Most High look bad. You have to meditate and keep the precepts. I'm going to get another one, 1 Peter 2 and verse 12. All right? That's the only way. Don't let nobody tell you any other way. There is no other way, man. There's one way. All right? Keeping the commandments. All right? Because whether you know or not, Jake is watching. Jake watches you. There's brothers that came into the truth, all right, by watching. Now, a brother may have broke it down to them, and they was like, yeah, I believe that, we went into slavery on slave ships. Yes, that's in the Bible. But then they kind of took a step back, and they watched how you operate. They watch how you think. They watch your words, all right? They kind of watching you to see, is this brother operating in righteousness or wickedness? Is this doctrine this man is bringing to me, is it the doctrine of life, or is it just Christianity and they just got fringes on and they call themselves Israel? All right? There's people that watch you and came into the truth like that. So that's why you have to always operate in the ways of the Lord, keeping his commandments, so you can pass the eye test, so that a brother can come in the truth. All right? This is the book of 1 Peter 2 and verse 12. This preacher is going to break that down for you. All right? Shlaki. This is 1 Peter 2 and verse 12. It says, having your conversation honest among the Gentiles. The Gentiles are still here today. All right? That's Jake that's in the world. All right? So you have to have your conversation honest amongst the Gentiles. You can't be around Jake and feeding into their wickedness. He kind of talking about weed and you talking about weed with him. All right, you don't got ain't no brothers around. I'm kind of talking about weed with this brother. Yeah, oh, is that strand still out? Oh, they still got that OG Kush? That's going off. You have to have your conversation honest. All right, if he's talking about weed, you kind of ignore him. All right, so he gets the point. That's what I do. All right, I just ignore Jake when Jake talking about folly, man. Just ignore him. And then you bring up things that's righteous. You could talk about certain things. All right. I know a brother personally. I tried to break down the truth to him, and he understood it. He's a Levite brother, but he's not really, it's not really clicking for him. Now, I may play basketball with the brother from time to time. I bring him around the Akim. Now, sometimes he used to bring up folly, but he got the point. I don't answer to it. I don't reply to it. I talk about something else. He got the message. He now understands that I'm not with that folly no more. All right. I'm not about talking about weed. I'm not about talking about women. I'm not talking about going to a damn telly, a party, a mansion party. I'm not talking about that no more. My conversation is honest amongst the Gentiles. Now he kind of sees, okay, this truth is not a joke. Now the brother, he actually, he damn, when we be playing with or against Edomites, he be like, yo, that's an Edomite. See that? So now it kind of rubbed off on him. All right, your works and your conversation have rubbed off on him. Now he damn calling the so-called white man an Edomite. He calling the white man an Edomite, but then he's going home and smoking weed still. All right, he's still in the world. But that's what your honest conversation does. All right, you kind of change the mannerism of another person. All right, they see things differently. I'm going to read this again. This is 1 Peter 2 and 12. Having your conversation honest among the Gentiles, that whereas they speak against you as evildoers. So there's some that do speak of us as evildoers, all right? Because they think we're wicked, all right? All right, and one more thing before I even continue on, that brought up another point in my mind. I'm going to read this again. It says that whereas they speak against you as evildoers. So there's some men, they're going to speak of you as evildoers, whether it's Jake or it's Esau or the other nations. Now, one thing I want to get clear, we're not in this thing to make the truth look good for the so-called white man or the other nations. We're not concerned with them. Because no matter how righteous you operate, no matter how good you keep the commandments, Esau is not going to look at us and say, wow, you guys are righteous. All right, the other nations, when they see us coming with the Bible, they still think of you as a nigga, you a thug, you a bum, you useless. All right, you don't want to get a job. They still think of you in that manner. Let me get a precept real quick. It's the book of Ezra 4 and verse 12. All right. So I just want to get that out your mind. If it is in your mind, we're not out here to please the other nations, man. We out here to please and help Jake and please the Most High ultimately. Bear with me real quick.
For a second, please.
All right, Slocky, we got to kind of go on the go now. All right. Turn that down for me. All right. Now we on the go. We gonna still push this word, man. All right. So as I was saying, we not out here to look good for the other nations. All right. So this is the book of Ezra 4 and verse 12. All right. We're gonna go back to that in 1 Peter. All right. This is Ezra 4 and verse 12. It says, "Be it known unto the king that the Jews which came up from thee to us are come unto Jerusalem." So we're coming back to our homeland. "Building the rebellious and the bad city." So when the other nations seen us building up Jerusalem again, they said they're building a rebellious and a bad city. Meanwhile, we building up our homeland. All right. And we're doing that now. We're building up Jerusalem now. All right. With the, we got the fishing hooks out here. All right. Or not the fishing hooks, Slocky. We got the damn hammers. We got the different tools. All right. Esau got different types of tools. All right. We spiritually have those tools in our hand and we're building up Jerusalem spiritually. All right. By bringing the 1/3 of Israel into this truth, that's us building up Jerusalem. So the same way when we built up Jerusalem back then and they called us the rebellious and bad city, they see us in the same light now. That's why they got us on the Southern Poverty Law Center page. All right. So they calling us, they see us as terrorists now. All we doing is reading the Bible and giving a judgment of the Bible, but now we're terrorists. All right. So the other nations, they're not gonna ever see us as anything good. So don't try to change your mannerisms or the way you act for the other nations. All right. Let me continue on with this. It says, "Building the rebellious in a bad city and have set up the walls thereof and joined the foundations." So they see us joining the foundations and they're like, nah, these wicked ass Israelites, they trying to build themselves back up. Meanwhile, we're doing this in righteousness. All right. We're bringing back our people that have been lost and telling them to come back to the commandments. But they don't like that. So us keeping the commandments isn't going to make us look good for the other nations. I just had to clear that up. All right. Us keeping the commandments makes us look good in the sight of the Heavenly Father, and it makes us look good in the eyes of Jake, the 1/3 that's bound to come into this truth, because they're gonna see us keeping the commandments, as I stated earlier, and then they're gonna like what we're doing, and they're gonna come into this truth ultimately when the Spirit of the Lord rests upon them. All right, so let's go back to this in the book of 1 Peter 2 and verse 12. All right. This is 1 Peter 2 and verse 12. It says, "Having your conversation honest among the Gentiles, that whereas they speak evil against you, speak against you as evildoers, they may by your good works." So now your works actually matter right now. Because as I said earlier, you have, for certain jakes, you have to pass the eye test. Just like when, for example, we have prospects. Now they come out there and test our spirits, and they're watching our body language and how we act off of certain situations. Right? They're trying to they're giving us a test, and it's called the eye test. They're trying to see, well, do I want to join this camp, or do I want to join this camp, because these brothers kind of going off and they kind of making the ministry look bad. I don't want to be a part of that. Now there's jakes in the world. They looking at us as a whole and saying, well, they got so much strife and debate. They got this and that. I don't think I want to be a part of that. Because the same thing that they got going on over there, I kind of got it going on in the world already now. So I'm going to just kind of stay where I'm at and see. I'm going to take my chances with the Lord. All right, see, when the Lord come back, whether I die or I live, I'm going to just take my chances, because I don't really see that being the truth. You don't want to be the reason why a brother thinks like that. You want to be the reason why the brother says, you know what, I kind of see them, the strife and debate over there, but over here they kind of got something good going on. They're building themselves up again. All right, that I want to be a part of that. All right, so by your good works, I'm going to read this again. It says, they made by your good works, which they shall behold. So they're watching with their eyes. They're going to see it. Glorify Yahweh in the day of visitation. Meaning they have repented and came back to keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Heavenly Fathers due to the works that you have put on display. All right. So in this truth, you gotta be blameless in this thing, man. All right. Men can't look at you and say, well, I don't really know about this brother. I kind of seen him doing this and that. No, you got to be undefiled in this thing. This is the book of Psalms 119. We'll go back to that. Psalms 119 and verse 1. There's another precept that I had in my mind. It escaped me. All right, Lord willing, it comes back. All right, this is the book of Psalms 119, and I'm going to read verse 1. All right, Psalms 119 and verse 1. It says, blessed are the undefiled in the way, who walk in the law of the Lord. So he said, I'm going to read this one more time. It's a beautiful precept. It says, blessed are the undefiled in the way. So there is certain men that's undefiled. Now, is this saying that there's men in the truth that have never sinned before? Or there's women in the truth that have never sinned before? Or children? That's not what this is saying. There's certain men that, yes, they fall. Remember, the Lord said a righteous man falleth 7 times and gets back up. So there's righteous men in the truth and women that fall, but they get back up. Those are the undefiled. Because once they fall in the mud or in the mire, they're not saying, well, I'm going to just wallow in this mud and I'm going to just deal with it. No, they're getting back up. They're emerging out of the dunghill and cleaning themselves again. All right. And then when the Lord comes back, he's going to see them as undefiled. Because even though they're in the flesh, they didn't let the flesh overwhelm them and destroy them, man. So there's some men that they let the flesh destroy them. All right. They just, like I said earlier, they fell in the mud. They said, well, I'm going to just stay down here. If I get back up, I'm just going to fall again. All right. There's some men, they scared to get injured in this thing, if you got to understand it. You can't be scared to get injured. All right. The righteous, the undefiled, they have been injured, but they got back up. They healed their injuries, man. That's what you got to do. So let me read this again. This is Psalms 119 and verse 1. It says, blessed are the undefiled in the way, who walk in the law of the Lord. Blessed are they that keep his testimonies and that seek him with the whole heart. So there's certain men, they're kind of blameless. There's not men bringing up accusations on them. Oh, I seen him doing this. I seen him doing that. No, they don't have nothing. There's nothing bad they can say about them. Why? Because they've been operating in the righteousness of the Lord. All right, let me get this in Acts 25 verse 7. All right, this is the book of Acts 25 verse 7. And me personally, Paul is a brother I love to study. The way he moved and talked, and I like to study this brother because this brother, he was moving in the spirit of the Heavenly Father. Now, there is other brothers that did the same thing, obviously. There's a lot of righteous men that have been doing that. But Paul is personally one of my favorites. Now, Paul, he walked in this thing and he caught different tribulations, all right? And he's done certain things in the past. He had a rough past. But while he was in the truth, he was blameless. He's going to be a part of the elect. No one had anything to really say about Paul. Why? Because he was walking in righteousness. He didn't make the truth look bad. He magnified the truth in his body. Let me read this in Acts 25:7. All right. All right, so this is the book of Acts 25. I'm gonna give you some context. Verse 1. So now in this time, Paul, he was being transferred from place to place because the Jews brought certain accusations against him that couldn't be proven. So now you had these Edomites that was kind of putting him to the test to see whether the things that they're accusing him of was true. So this is the book of Acts 25 and verse 1. Now when Festus was come into the province, after 3 days, he ascended from Caesarea to Jerusalem. Then the high priest and the chief of the Jews informed him against Paul and besought him. So you had these wicked Israelites, the same men that was, they kind of got Yahushua put to death. All right. Same Jake. All right. They kind of trying to get Paul put to death now. All right. So verse 3, it says, and desired favor against him, that he would send him to Jerusalem, laying in the way to kill him. So you had these men, they was trying to kill Paul. Verse 4, but Festus answered that Paul should be kept at Caesarea, and that he himself would depart shortly thither. Let them therefore, said he, which among you are able, go down with me, and accuse this man, if there be any wickedness in him. All right, verse 6. And when he had tarried among them more than 10 days, he went down to Caesarea, and the next day, sitting on the judgment seat, commanded Paul to be brought. And when he was come, the Jews which came down from Jerusalem stood round about. All right. So imagine now you got all these your own brothers, man. They standing around you kind of in a circle just by yourself. All right. It says, and laid many and grievous complaints against Paul. So these men, they was kind of saying, oh, he did this. Paul did this. Paul did that. Like a little bad kid, a little lying kid, man. You got kids in the world, they just be lying. All right, my little sister in the world, just to get her way, she will stomp, throw you. She will damn manipulate. She was very manipulative. All right, so she will say certain things and make accusations just to make herself look good and to get something done that she wants to be done. That's what these jakes are doing. They're being like a little kid, a childish girl, man. Making up different accusations just because Paul was bringing out the truth. Because you got to understand, 2/3 of Israel, they don't like the truth. All right, like he said in Galatians 4:16, he says, am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth? Hell yeah, you became their enemy, man. As soon as you came in the truth, 2/3 was automatically your enemy. Whether it's your aunt, your dad, your grandma, your cousin, it don't matter. All right, you have became their enemy because you tell the truth. Now, Paul is an enemy to his own brothers that stand around about him. And as it said, they made grievous complaints against Paul, which, I'm going to continue on, which they could not prove. So they couldn't prove these things. Now, what does that mean? That means Paul was blameless. You couldn't really, although they brought accusations, but they couldn't be proven. They weren't factual. This is how we have to be in this truth. We have to walk in this truth being blameless, all right, without spot and without blemish, so that we can magnify the name of Yahweh and Yahushua in these last days, in this truth, all right, that's built around our powers. This is what we have to be. We have to be blameless, all right? The Lord is not dealing with men that got, you in the world still, you double-minded. The Lord's not dealing with that, man. You have to be blameless. This is the book of 1 Maccabees, 4, I'm going to start at verse 30. I started 38. All right, this is the book of 1 Maccabees 4 and verse 38. And when Salakia, now this is in the time of Judas Maccabeus. All right, so this is 1 Maccabees 4 and 38. And when they saw the sanctuary desolate and the altar profane and the gates burned up and shrubs growing in the courts as in a forest or in one of the mountains. So this is Now this is literal. There, what we just read is literal. The sanctuary was desolate, altar profane, the gates burned up, the shrubs growing in the courts as a forest. Now these things are happening now spiritually. All right, so let me read this again. It says, and when they saw the sanctuary desolate, that's Israel. Israel is desolate and destroyed. All right, Israel getting down with homosexuality. All right, bestiality. All right, Jake is all just destroyed, man. All right, they think they're equivalent to the other nations or even less. Some Jakes think they're less. All right, so Jake is destroyed and desolate, and the altar profane. So the top men of Israel, which would be symbolic for the altar, they're like it says, they're profane, man. Our so-called or once upon a time leaders in Israel, they're destroyed for a lack of knowledge. All right, some of them don't got a pot to piss in, man. Some of them they really don't got no understanding. All right, they don't got common sense. Continuing on, and the gates burned up. Now the gates is symbolic for the judges. We had judges at the gates. The gates are burned up. We don't have no judges in Israel no more. All right. These judges, these so-called black men and Hispanic men and women that you see in the court system supposedly being judges, they got the javelin. Order. Those are not judges, man. They're on the left-hand side now. You think this judicial system we have now is righteous? It's not righteous. How many so-called black men get put to death for no reason? All it takes is an Edomite to say, this man touched me. He ain't never seen this woman a day in his life, and this man, he might get the death penalty. All right, they ready to damn buy a whole guillotine for this man. All right, or lynch him. They ready to lynch this guy. All right, that happens in the so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native American communities. Why? Because of this court system we have now. This court system is not righteous. So now we're defamed and destroyed. It says, in shrubs growing in the courts as in the forest. Now all hell is breaking loose amongst Israel. All right. Continuing on, it says, Salakia. It says, or in one of the mountains. Yeah, and the priest's chambers pulled down. Remember, the Lord said we're a kingdom of priests. All of us, our chambers is pulled down. We're destroyed. Continuing on to verse 39. They rent their clothes and made great lamentation and cast ashes upon their heads. Now, this is not these jakes that's renting their clothes and lamenting and throwing ashes upon their head. This is not 2/3. This is 1/3. They're crying for their sign and crying for the abomination that are done thereof, in the midst thereof. All right? That's us. We're crying out. Us brothers and sisters that's in the truth, we're renting our clothes, got sackcloth, we got ashes on our head. We're crying and lamenting to the Lord, asking him to save us and redeem us from our captivity, man. All right? Rear up the gates again. All right? Clean off the altar. All right? Make the sanctuary beautiful again. We're crying out for this. Verse 40. And fell down flat to the ground upon their faces, and blew an alarm with the trumpets and cried toward heaven. We're doing that now by proclaiming the word. Verse 41. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress. Now, again, this is all literal, but we're going spiritual. Who's those people in the fortresses? You got the so-called white man, so-called Chinese man, so-called Japanese man, so-called African man, East Indian man, Arab man, Hawaiian man, so on and so forth. All right, Cushites, all right, the Ethiopians, all right. You got all these other nations. They're in the fortress. This is their fortress right now, the earth. All right. They got social media working for them. They got the media working for them. All right. They even got Jake working for them, man. So they're in the fortress. They're protected. All right. And these men that's working behind the scene, no one can kind of pinpoint who they are. They're protected. They're in a fortress. But Judas, he picked certain men. Now, we're going to go on another fold. The Lord, he's picking certain men. As it just said, I'm going to read it again. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress. So the Lord, in these last days, he's picking certain men to fight against those that's in the fortress. Remember, you got the prophecy in Zechariah, the first chapter. All right, I believe I mentioned this recently as well. All right, you got the carpenters. They're gonna fray away the other nations. Those are the men. Those are the chosen men, the elect men that the Lord has chosen to go and fight against the fortress. Verse continuing on, until he had cleansed the sanctuary. So he chose priests. Remember, we're a nation of priests. So he chose priests of blameless conversation. So the Lord, again, like I said on another fold, the Lord, he's choosing those that's blameless in their conversation. They're not defiled with the things of the Gentiles, the things of the heathen. They're blameless. All right. Such as had pleasure in the law. So that's what the Lord is dealing with in these last days. Men and women that's delighted in following the laws of the Lord. Those are the men ultimately that's going to be redeemed out of this captivity. All right, those that are righteous, those that are blameless, undefiled, virgins unto Hamashiach. So again, that's what we must be, blameless. All right, keeping the laws of the Lord before the sight of Jake, so Jake can come into this truth, man. This is how we magnify this truth. This is how we exalt the nation. This is how we avoid making the truth look bad, by keeping the commandments, by observing the law. All right. So Lord willing, that was edifying to at least one brother or even to one sister. And with that, I'm going to give all honor and glory to the Most High God, Yahweh, all right, and Yahweh Shai, which the world calls Jesus Christ, and Kwam Yashala.